Hello everyone, it's Mike Levin from MikeLevinSEO.com, and the dog is at the in-laws, so no dog walking video this morning. Sunday, August 10th, I guess around 9 a.m. or so, and my thoughts this morning are on exactly how popular the Raspberry Pi was and is. There's been 3 million units sold. It's a little computer for hackers and makers that costs around $35. That's just as likely to be used as a component in a project on some device that moves around and has sensors and wheels as it is to be used as a sort of a desktop computer replacement in sort of the sense of the one laptop per child, a cheap computer. And it's based on an old ARM chip. Before the Cortex models, they did not choose the more modern of the microprocessors that were available because I think it has much more liberal or inexpensive licensing. They could make it $35. When you look at all of Raspberry Pi's competitors, none of them are that inexpensive, and they all come in at least the $45 point, often more. And I think a lot of that can be attributed to processor licensing. They're more powerful, oftentimes multi-core. Cortex is when the multi-cores came into the picture. And they're much more like modern cell phones. They could use unaltered versions of the Linux kernel for ARM because it was targeting modern processors. And I think it's the the ARM 11, which Pi is based on, which was a generation or two before that. Not very modern, but it can get by, you know, as use of the Pi demonstrates. You don't need really super beefy processors to do interesting things. Sometimes it's actually an advantage to have smaller, to take the more modest approach. But my thoughts really are on what next. Eben announced that this is probably the last major hardware revision, and it looks like these hardware revisions go in 2-year cycles. So let's see, it's 2014, 13, 12. Back in 2012, the Pi came out. So this next hardware model should bring us through 2016 towards the end, and then something new. And I don't see them going to modern ARM processors or whatever the Cortex has become by then, or even what in the ARM line has become old by then. What I imagine is the next evolution of such things is open, free and open source hardware. Such things do exist. Even the ARM processors itself came out of that lineage. I believe they were called the RISC processors. I think it came out of MIT. It might be called MIPS, something like that. But there is, in fact, a much lower power, older CPU design that's free and open source. And that's been evolving. It's out there. It's not, you know, nearly as popular as ARM, and certainly not as powerful as Intel processors, but it does exist. And the fact that every ARM processor is custom anyway, that means companies like Samsung and Sony license the CPU designs from ARM, but they build them themselves. It's not like Intel where you buy a component that is a chip. Every cell phone and mobile device based on ARM processors is a work of art. There are a few companies that repackage the ARM designs as their own processors, like the Snapdragon, and you know, Apple does their own with the, you know, A4s and up to when they switch to their own processors. But even Apple, getting off of the ARM designs, is still paying licensing to ARM for the machine instruction set. And that's really what has to change. In order to break all dependencies on all vendors on a device that can be popular, mainstream, and work en masse like the Raspberry Pi has. It's up to 3 million units sold and doesn't look like it's stopping. You've got to have a free and open source CPU design in it so that no vendor dependency whatsoever. And when 3D printers are capable of printing circuitry and CPU designs, there will be no limitations on slamming out new devices with your future 3D printer and having printing computers like the way we print little plastic things today. Not just computers, printing any devices that require a computer as a component. And that, I see, is the future of this general computing lineage that has been started mostly by the Raspberry Pi Foundation. I might argue it goes back to Acorn, the UK version of Commodore, and Commodore itself. And then before that, probably the halls of MIT, where this open source RISC processor was designed. So thanks for letting me bend your ear. And if you think this video is worth sharing, please share it and subscribe. Talk to you soon.